This is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening. I'm Anthony Carlo. We begin tonight with a successful U.S. raid on ISIS targets deep in eastern Syria. In an early morning mission conducted under the cover of darkness, a team of Delta Force commandos took out roughly a dozen ISIS fighters, including a key ISIS leader. The man described as the head of the terror group's lucrative oil operations. Abu Sayyaf was his name, known to be a key associate of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS. As David Martin reports, this was a high-risk operation for the U.S. military, which apparently yielded high rewards, including the capture of Sayyaf's wife.
The Delta Force commandos went into Syria aboard Black Hawk helicopters and Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft. Their target was a building where Abu Sayyaf lived with his wife and oversaw black market oil operations, a major source of ISIS income. One Pentagon official called him the chief financial officer of ISIS. ISIS oil facilities have been frequent targets of the U.S.-led bombing campaign, but this time the Delta commandos intended to capture the man who ran the operation. A firefight broke out, and according to Pentagon officials, some of the ISIS fighters attempted to use women and children as human shields. About a dozen enemy fighters were killed in fighting that sometimes involved hand-to-hand combat. Pentagon officials said there were no reports of civilian casualties and no Americans were killed or wounded, although there were bullet holes in some of the aircraft. The commandos found Abu Sayyaf and his wife on the top floor of the building. According to Pentagon officials, he attempted to resist and was killed. His wife was captured and taken back to Iraq along with a young Iraqi woman who officials believe had been enslaved by Abu Sayyaf. The young woman will be returned to her family. The wife will be interrogated. Officials believe she knows about the abuse suffered by Kayla Mueller, the American aid worker who died earlier this year while being held hostage by ISIS.
David Martin reporting. Tonight, Amtrak is agreeing to abide by an emergency order issued by the Federal Railroad Administration. The order will expand a speed restriction system that might have prevented this week's deadly derailment in Philadelphia. This comes as the FBI checks out the possibility that some sort of object hit the train's windshield just before the crash. Here's Chris Van Cleve.
New video from a security camera shows the speeding train as it careened off the tracks. The accident prompted federal regulators to order Amtrak to immediately complete installation of automatic train control that could remotely stop a speeding train, assess speeds approaching curves, and add speed limit signs. The National Transportation Safety Board asked the FBI to investigate damage to the windshield of Train 188's engine to determine if an object struck the train. Board member Robert Sumwalt.
What damage patterns to that windshield are we having the FBI look at? There is a circular pattern that emanates out just a bit.
In an interview with the NTSB, an assistant conductor recalled hearing a radio conversation between engineer Brandon Boshton and another train operator about objects striking their trains. Two other trains in the same area, a Washington, D.C. bound Amtrak train and a regional commuter train known as SEPTA, both appear to have been hit by what witnesses describe as a projectile shortly before the crash. SEPTA officials say transit police get about one call a week in that area for people throwing things at passing trains. Monica Williams was on the SEPTA train that was hit.
There's a loud bump. The train immediately slows.
As they sat on the tracks, train 188 raced by. Minutes later, she'd learn it derailed.
Now there's another train a few minutes ahead, and you're telling me it's off the tracks. So lots of feelings. And then a little bit of gratitude, too.
Investigators still don't know what caused the Amtrak train to rapidly accelerate to speeds more than 100 miles per hour. And the train's engineer told the NTSB he does not remember the events leading up to the crash. Longtime friend James Weir called Boshton shortly after the derailment.
He was in shock, and he wasn't remembering much of anything. He just couldn't remember.
Chris Van Cleve reporting. 2 years and a month after the Boston Marathon bombings, there's a palpable sense of relief in the city now that penalty phase of the trial has ended. Yohar Sarnaev is headed for death row. But as Don Dahler reports, it will be years before the case is closed for good.
Johar Tsarnaev has not seen the last of the inside of a courtroom. He is about to begin making his way through one of the most convoluted journeys in the legal system, death penalty appeals. Many of the people most affected by his actions, like Liz Norden, feel a sense of closure.
I have to watch my two sons put a leg on every day, so I don't know closure, but I can tell you it feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
But Boston College law professor Robert Bloom says the saga will not be over soon, if ever.
The likelihood of him actually being killed by the state is minimal.
So this could go on for decades?
That's the tragedy, I would say, of this. Whether or not he will actually be killed by the government in this case is somewhat problematic. I'm not sure it'll ever happen.
That's why Martin Richards' family urged prosecutors to settle for life. In an essay published April 17th, they wrote, "We hope our two remaining children do not have to grow up with the lingering, painful reminder of what the defendant took from them, which years of appeals would undoubtedly bring." In fact, the average period between sentence and execution nationwide in 2013 was 15 years. Executions are even more rare in federal cases. Since Congress reinstated the death penalty in 1988, 71 people have been put on death row, yet only 3 have been executed, the last in 2003. Timothy McVeigh, who was convicted of blowing up the Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City in 1995, was executed 4 years after sentencing, but only because he dropped his appeal. Tsarnaev has given no indication he intends to do the same. The first appeal is automatic. His attorneys will likely ask for a new trial, and barring that, will begin a series of appeals all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Don Daler reporting. Now to Nepal, where all 8 bodies have been recovered from the site where a U.S. Marine helicopter crashed Tuesday while delivering aid. But as Seth Doan tells us, investigators still don't know why the chopper went down.
The crash site was discovered after a 3-day search high up in the Himalayas. The wreckage of the Huey was found at 11,200 feet, located halfway between Kathmandu and Mount Everest. The 6 U.S. Marines and 2 Nepalese soldiers on board had been part of the wider humanitarian aid mission, providing relief to quake victims in Nepal.
Egypt's former president Mohamed Morsi has been sentenced to death. The crime, escaping from prison during the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak in 2011. Morsi became Egypt's first democratically elected leader, but was then overthrown himself in a coup 2 years ago. A man accused of shooting at George Zimmerman Monday in Florida is now out on bond. Matthew Apperson is charged with aggravated assault for shooting through Zimmerman's car window on a busy street near Orlando. The 2 men were not strangers, having been involved in a road rage incident last September. Zimmerman, of course, was found not guilty of killing Trayvon Martin 3 years ago. Coming up, a blind pole vaulter raises the bar when the CBS Evening News continues. American Pharoah is one step closer to the Triple Crown. Actually, make that 9.5 furlongs. The Kentucky Derby winner took the Preakness Stakes today in wet and muddy conditions. If he wins Belmont in 3 weeks, he'll become the first Triple Crown winner since affirmed in 1978. Normally, they don't allow dogs on the podium at state high school track and field championships in Texas, but today they made an exception. That's Charlotte Brown with her service dog Vader. Brown, who's blind, took bronze in the pole vault. She counts her steps down the runway, then plants the pole when she hears a faint beep. Call it bronze if you want, but that's nothing but gold to me. In sports, Roger Goodell has chosen to hear Tom Brady's side of the story in Deflategate. The NFL commissioner rejected the Players Association's request for an independent arbitrator to hear the appeal. The union contests if the evidence is direct, like the NFL says it is, the league should have no problem presenting their case to someone neutral. The commissioner has been handling the case thus far. He had NFL Vice President Troy Vincent hand down the punishment. The Patriot quarterback is suspended 4 games next season. The team will also lose a first-round draft pick in 2016 and $1 million. In baseball, the Yankees continue their reign over first place in the East. They brought out the bats in Tampa against the Rays. We'll pick it up in the top of the first. Alex Rodriguez tagging one off of Alex Carlo, a tape measure blast. His 8th home run of the season. We're all knotted up at 1 in the 4th until Chase Headley digs in. He hits a laser down the right field line that gets out of the park in a hurry. Headley with the 3-run bomb puts the Yankees up 4-1. That was his 4th home run of the season. 1 inning later, it's Carlos Beltran's turn. He spanks a solo shot to right field. His 2nd home run of the season puts the Yanks up 5-1. Really doing some yard work, but they're not finished. Brett Gardner belts one over the center field wall in the 6th. The 3-run blast makes it 8-1 New York. And now they're just having some fun. All of these dingers up until this point coming off a starting pitcher, Alex Carlo. Mark Teixeira caps it off with an oppo shot in the 9th. Texas' 11th home run of the season puts the Yankees up 11-5. And that would be the final. The Bombers belted 5 home runs on the day, and this was certainly enough run support to get CC Sabathia his first win of the year. The big lefty tossed 7 innings, giving up 4 runs on 6 hits. He also fanned 9. We'll be right back. We close tonight with one of those jaw-dropping, no way did this actually happen stories that is absolutely true. Mark Albert now with sisters who did not know each other existed until they found each other by chance in the classroom where they both signed up for the same course.
Feels like a fairy tale.
Lizzie Valverde and Katie Olson still marvel at the coincidence, the luck, the fate.
What are the odds?
Impossible to commute.
Their sibling story began when both signed up for a writing course at Columbia University in 2013. Neither could have imagined the tale they would end up telling together.
It's the first day of class. You're doing introductions. When did it dawn on you that you could be related?
She said that she was from New Jersey. She said that she had a child.
And then when she followed up with a rapid fire of like more detailed personal questions, like, were you given up for adoption in Tampa, Florida to a woman named Leslie? And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The room kind of froze and I just said, is this real life?
Lizzie had already found their mother, Leslie Parker, a few years earlier. We spoke with her by phone from Rhode Island.
If you didn't believe in a higher power before you hear the story, you absolutely have to believe in one now because it's basically a miracle.
Parker was just a troubled teenager when she gave up the girls for adoption at birth, a year apart. 35 years later, her voice still breaks.
I wanted to give them the best possible future they could have, and it wouldn't have been with me. As sad as it is to give up your own children, but I felt that the best gift I could give them is to let them go.
In the next few days, the mom who gave her girls a selfless gift will meet Katie for the first time.
A lot of sacrifices were made for me to be sitting where I am right now. The largest sacrifice conceivably ever. And so I never forget that.
This family's next chapter begins Monday when Lizzie graduates from Columbia with a degree in creative writing. Her long-lost mother and sister by her side. Mark Albert, CBS News, New York.
Amazing. And that's the CBS Evening News for tonight. For now, I'm Anthony Carlo in New York. For all of us here at CBS News, thanks for joining us and good night.